you, and welcome friends to episode 6 of Hobson's Choice. I'm Michael G. Hobson, and in this episode, the G stands for Gall. It could have stood for GOP, since the Republican Party is at the heart of this story, or at least the lack of a heart. The videos were shocking. The Republicans were holding a last-ditch hearing to save their preposterous and hurtful healthcare plan, a plan that essentially rips health coverage away from those who need it, so Republicans can apply the savings to their grand tax plan. Republicans have always believed that if people want something, they should go out and work for it. Anyone else, well, they can suffer and die. That heartlessness was on full display this week when the Republicans held an open hearing that was attended by a group called ADAPT, a grassroots disability rights activist group. Senate Finance Committee Chairman Orrin Hatch told the protesters that if they can't be quiet, to get the heck out. Now, it was quite the sight to watch the disabled wheeled out, carried out, or dragged out by police. Nearly 200 were arrested for interrupting the hearing with chants of "No cuts to Medicaid, save our liberty." What kind of gall do you have as a human being to not only watch or allow, but insist on disabled people being dragged out of the room simply for being concerned that their health care could be lost? These are not people who have a choice. People in wheelchairs, in walkers, on crutches. There was one woman in an automated chair. She had no arms and no legs. How can you turn your back on these people? It's not like they have a choice. They can't just go out and get a job and support themselves. They need help. They need support. If they don't get it, they die. But to these Republicans, people like Hatch and Chuck Grassley, who were heard saying to each other to let the police handle it, they don't care. Hatch and Grassley are two of the old white bastards that head the Republican Party. They don't care about people. They don't care about Americans. And they don't even care about their constituents, unless there's an election going on. These are the kind of people who exude the worst characteristics of politicians. They were saying to the disabled, "Get out. You're disrupting. As far as your issues, we don't care. You're in our way. You're in our way." How much gall does it take to have the disabled arrested for caring about being alive? The audacity, the impudence, the insolence. You are disgusting human beings. There is no other way to look at this. Every time I see a video or a picture of Republicans signing some important document, I see nothing but old white men. Their understanding of the difficulties in life suffered by so many others is foreign to them. They cling to a morally superior manner, as if they know best. Republicans have been touting trickle-down economics for decades now, and their credo is "give to us, and we shall then give to you, our loyal subjects." The money is better used in our hands than in yours. Because if there is one thing we think of when we think of rich people, it is their unwavering benevolence, their care and concern for the have-nots. Now, while John McCain garnered most of the attention and respect for turning thumbs down on being morally and economically repugnant, it was two female senators, Lisa Murkowski of Alaska and Susan Collins of Maine, who stood down their old white colleagues and stayed firm. You see, Republican voters, a little diversity can save your life. It's funny to us in Canada, this fight you Americans have for healthcare. Obamacare is an infant in health insurance, and you Americans, always fighting to save a dollar, have no patience and don't realize that you will pay now and save much more later. And while many Canadians were offended by the Vice President's comment, it's not Igor, it's pronounced Igor. Well, Igor said that if the US isn't careful, they could wind up with a flawed system like they have in Canada. You mean a country where government-sponsored healthcare is a right of birth? Where individuals actually pay less for coverage than those who have coverage in the US? Where citizens don't have to be concerned with the cost of a life? So much stupidity. I know Americans believe capitalism is the greatest system in the world, and it may be in many areas, but not in healthcare. So, maybe some good will come of this healthcare failure. I mean, other than millions of Americans keeping their healthcare without cuts to Medicaid, the largest insurer of Americans. Other than that. Someone has to be blamed for this failure of the long-discussed proposal to repeal and replace Obamacare. It is certainly not the president's fault, so who is to blame? Sounds like the blame will be placed in the lap of the Senate Majority Leader. The turtle, though, was counting on tax cuts to salvage his reputation and his position. After all, he didn't want health care to be their first priority. They are tired of health care, tired of working on health care. They want to do tax cuts. Say tax cuts to a Republican, a tear forms in their eyes. It's their anthem. They don't like health insurance because health insurance costs money. Sorry, but health insurance is a cost. In money, not in lives. Republicans want Americans to stand for the anthem, but have no issue with having disabled Americans removed from a public hearing. Republicans insist on being the standard bearer for the American way of life. But who are the real Americans? Those who protest when their civil rights are being attacked, or the old white men sitting in session at a Republican hearing and encouraging the removal of the disabled because they protest for the right to stay alive? The enemy of the people is not the media. For the American people, the enemy is the Republican Party. So maybe some good can come from this. The turtle is going to get blamed for the healthcare failure. There is no doubt about that. And despite the years of work they put into tax cuts, their plan will obviously stink with cuts to the taxes of the wealthy. The money is better in our hands than in yours. But the turtle may be crossing the road in his slow, methodical manner and may be aware that there is a presidential motorcade bearing down on him. Now, I believe the turtle knows mostly everything about the Russian investigation because I believe he was hearing about it from its inception. Being the most powerful politician in Washington, I highly doubt that he wasn't aware of what was going on the campaign trail. He knew. He may not have been involved, but he knew from the moment it started. He simply stayed silent so the Republicans could gain control of the executive branch. Win at any and all cost. Now, we've been looking for John Dean throughout this investigation, the inside man whose soul couldn't be completely corrupted. John Dean was Richard Nixon's White House lawyer who decided that he could not, in good conscience, continue with the lies and instead told the truth about the Nixon improprieties in a Senate congressional hearing. Could the turtle do the same? He has stayed silent for now. But now, feeling threatened by the White House, with his position and power hanging by a thread, could the turtle walk into the office of a member of the Senate Intelligence Committee and unburden his soul? Does the turtle have the capacity for human understanding? For human compassion? Maybe that's just the optimist in me thinking. Till next time, my friends, be well.